Hi there everybody. We at Sasfin, we come to the end of the year and it's always nice to look back and reflect on the things that have happened. I'm not going to give you a rendition of chestnuts roasting on an open fire, but what I have put together is a little festive rhyme that encapsulates a lot of what's happened in 2022. With apologies of course to Clement Clark Moore. 'Twas the week before Christmas, as another year approached its dusk, with staff in the halls of Twitter trying to avoid eye contact with Elon Musk. The invasion of Ukraine, that the Russians thought would be a breeze, left much death and devastation, but Zelensky was far from on his knees. Wheat prices surged and oil prices spiked, and food and energy cost so much more. And central banks ramped up their hawkishness as inflation began to soar. Interest rates went stratospheric, and QE reversed into quantitative tightening. And the impact on the markets, for most, was nothing short of frightening. The S&P's value fell by a quarter, and the Nasdaq index tumbled by a third, as investors scorned risky assets and stampeded to the dollar as a herd. Emerging markets weren't spared the fallout, and the JSE too felt the pain. But the index was supported by commodities, and the banking sector gained. China tightly locked down her cities until the coronavirus was gone, and they flaunted their military prowess in the straits around Taiwan. Their property market collapsed in a heap as many contractors' finances failed, and Xi Jinping, for the third time, as the Communist Party chair, prevailed. The central bank tried accommodative policies to spur the economy to grow a lot more. Let's hope it works out really well so they can keep buying Kumba's high-grade iron ore. The Democrats kept the US Senate while the Republicans won back the House. In the midterms, with no big red wave, Donald Trump became the GOP's own grouse. NASA changed an asteroid's course as Dimorphos was smashed into by a dart, and the Orion craft launched into space as the Artemis moon mission got its start. First images from the James Webb Telescope showed up galaxies in a brand new light, and parts of space that even Hubble couldn't reach were brought clearer into sight. Boris Johnson made his PM exit and was replaced by Elizabeth Truss, whose mini budget was globally scorned, so she threw the exchequer under the bus. As sterling collapsed, Truss was shown the door, and her tenure days ended at 50. And Sunak was brought to 10 Downing Street to oversee a budget a lot more thrifty. Paddington Bear visited Buckingham Palace to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, but sadly, it was the last time that they'd share marmalade sandwiches and a cup of tea. We bid farewell to Vangelis, Coolio, Meatloaf and Olivia Newton-John. And goodness gracious, no great balls left of fire, as Jerry Lee Lewis too was gone. Sidney Poitier, William Hurt and Anne Hesh performed their last, while Johnny Fever, Jessica Fletcher and Hagrid too left this earthly cast. Bob Saget's surprise passing left the hearts of Full House fans ripped and torn, while Shinzo Abe was assassinated and we saw the final leg spin of Shane Warne. Cooley Roberts and DJ Dimples will no longer dazzle and entertain, and we won't hear Jeremy Mansfield over the Highveld airwaves ever again. The estate Sianda Sesamani succumbed as a victim of violent crime, and DJs City Lights and Somebody were separately gunned down in their prime. We mourn the loss of Patrick Shy and the passing of Ricky Rick, and they'll want us all to remember that mental illness also means you're sick. It was another tough year, and maybe you'll remember stories that were reported, like the tennis one about Djokovic, when from Australia he was deported. Chris Rock's comments on Jada's follicles weren't quite the stuff of a Will Smith rap, and inspired the Fresh Prince to storm the stage and deliver a mighty big face slap. Top Gun took off at the box office, and Lieutenant Maverick had the last word. And the court heard the juicy details in the case of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Ben Bernanke won a Nobel Prize, and Judge Zondo became Justice Chief. And in June we ditched our COVID masks, much to everyone's relief. The Northwest received their donkey carts, and some broke down on the first day. And Pala Pala's dollar bill millions went unreported when thieved away. Load shedding gets its annual mention, after we experienced blackout stage 6, with the saddest news of all, that it could still take 2 years to fix. Hurricanes and typhoons ravaged the globe with widespread devastation, with monsoon rains leaving floods covering a third of the Pakistan nation. Temperatures soared over 40 as Europeans suffered under a heat wave, but COP27 came up short on how the planet will eventually save. KZN too was flooded, with buildings and bridges washed away, and memories of the loved ones lost will forever with us stay. Beijing held the Winter Olympics to be the first host of the hot one and the cold, and at the Birmingham Games, South Africa won medals, with 7 of them bright gold. Qatar hosted the Soccer World Cup, and the kickoff was greeted with a cheer, but the fans were left a little enraged when the plug was pulled on the stadium beer. Banyana Banyana triumphed at WAFCON, and winning the cup was oh so sweet. But we couldn't hide our faces when Rossi ranted out another referee tweet. The new year is a time to chase your dreams and bucket list goals, with the roads to all of our futures free from those escalating e-tolls. No doubt there's a story missing, and one could always think of 1 or 2 more, but let's pause right there and spare a thought for Charlize's dwindling 44. Clement Clark Moore's famous poem has been beaten up in this rhyme, so let's twist his Visit from St. Nicholas words for the very, very last time. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, a great festive season to all, and to all a good night.